can't tell you how many times in my career and in my life I've opened the Parsha of the week to find something staring at me that seems to have been written exactly for me, exactly for the moment I'm in. I know that's true for all of us who study Torah. It has an uncanny way of cycling around and meeting us right where we are. And so I wasn't totally surprised when I realized that this week's Parsha is Vayeishev. The word Vayeishev means he settled down. Here it's describing our ancestor Jacob between his dramatic encounter with his brother Esau and the dramatic sale of his son Joseph into slavery by his other sons. Rashi says of Vayeishev that Jacob sought tranquility, some moments of calm in the midst of troubles. The root of the word Vayeishev, yashav, is not actually related to the word shavat, though I want it to be. Shavat as in vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, when God on the seventh day rested and replenished God's soul. It seems like these words are supposed to be the same and connected. They're not. Shavat as in Shabbat. Shavat as in Shabbatical. They seem related to me because the quest for tranquility, for ease, for calm in the midst of troubles is a lot like the designation of a time for rest every 7 days or every 7 years. And I want to say a few words tonight about my sabbatical and about the immensity and the beauty of this gift that you are giving me. And why I think and hope that it will have meaning not just for me, which it certainly will, but maybe also for you, maybe also for our whole community. The idea that rabbis and cantors rest every seventh year comes from the rules of the Shemitah in Torah, the rule that the land must lie fallow so that it can continue to bear fruit, continue to produce long into the future, so that the soil will not become depleted, leached of its nutrients, but instead renewed in a 7-year cycle that sustains life. The idea is that just as all humans need rest every 7 days, those of us who work caring for the community also need longer periods of rest, need to lie fallow, need to not produce, need to be refreshed and reinvigorated and reinfused with soul-sustaining nutrients, so that we do not become depleted and unable to sustain life, but instead can continue to give and to serve long into the future. And even though I know this, and even though I believe this, that people need rest, that people who serve the community can become burnt out in a way that they can't come back from, and even though I'm aware that I'm not good at identifying when I'm hitting my limits until it's too late, I did not actually make plans for this sabbatical in my 7th year here. It took our immediate past president, John Horowitz, giving me an ultimatum. It's true. A little more than 3 years ago, he told me that in no uncertain terms, it was unacceptable for me to burn out. And he demanded, in the nicest possible way, that I tell him exactly the dates of when I would be taking my sabbatical, so that we would put it on the calendar and I would be bound to it. So we announced this sabbatical 3 years ago. We did. And for the last 3 years, people have been saying to me, how was it? Wait, did you already go? Wait, are you going soon? And I would say, it's still in 2 more years. It's still in another year. And then for much of this year, I would say, I'm going in January unless Trump wins. And on the day after the election, for about 12 hours, I thought about canceling. Because I thought about the chaos and the stress that this community would be under. And I didn't want you to have to go through it without me. But then I realized 2 things. Number 1, I'm not going to make it. I will not last if I do not rest. And at this point, after this year, I actually can feel that to be true. And number 2, canceling my sabbatical would be a leadership failure. Judaism is wise, and it declares that rest is a necessity for the very fabric of existence. It is not optional. We live in a culture that tries to deny that. We valorize overwork and busyness. We think of it as heroic. We build our egos and our sense of worth around being needed, around the things we do, and it does not avail us. I am deeply of this culture. I am easily deluded into pride at my exhaustion. I am. And this is not good leadership. It is not good leadership. If I chose to cancel my sabbatical, what kind of message would I be sending to all of you and to the rest of the clergy team? It would certainly be a rejection of Torah's teachings. It would also be saying that it's preferable, laudable even, not to rest. That sacrificing the renewal of our bodies and our spirits is somehow honorable or noble. It might indicate doubt that you all could handle this without me, when in fact, I am utterly confident, rock solid certain that you can do anything without me, and you can do this without me. And given what we've been through in the last 10 years, the chaos of the first Trump administration, the COVID pandemic, October 7th and its aftermath, and the war ever since, and many other things, and now a second Trump administration, I need every member of this clergy team to take a sabbatical when it's their time, because I need their best, and you need their best. So I realized that I have to go. In fact, by going on sabbatical in a time of crisis for our country, a crisis that will be with us for much longer than 6 months, I'm hoping to say with my actions that even though the world does not stop, we must seek out periods of tranquility. The world does not stop, but periodically, we must. We must. Every one of us needs refreshment. In almost no circumstance is it noble or strategic or helpful to sacrifice ourselves, to run ourselves into the ground, to be sucked dry. We must trust one another to take over for us and to take turns with us so that every one of us can be nourished and renewed, so that every one of us can have the energy to bring our exquisite and unique gifts into this world, so that every one of us can have the strength and the courage to face the formidable challenges of our times, so that every one of us can love with our whole selves. So, given that my assignment for the next 6 months is the refreshment of my soul, my plan is to spend my days hiking in places that remind me of how small I am and how big and beautiful this world is, places that remind me of God. I will be mostly on my own, with family and friends joining me for about 1 week each month. I will not produce anything of value to anyone. I will remove almost all apps, all social media, email, my US phone number, my calendar, and news sources off of my phone. I will mostly be in Patagonia and Peru, but also exploring Tierra del Fuego, the Atacama Desert, Santiago, Rio, Buenos Aires, Uruguay, Lima, and the Galapagos. I may also learn to make pottery. I have no goals other than to sleep, that's the biggest one, to walk, and to be. This is what I think will renew and replenish me. Some of the ancient rabbis criticized Jacob for seeking tranquility and calm in the midst of the dangers and the needs around him. But others see wisdom in his choice. Kedushat Levi Yitzhak of Berdichev, notes that in this first verse of our parsha, Vayeishev Yaakov be'eretz megurei aviv, Jacob settled in the place where his father had dwelled. The word megurei, dwellings, can also mean fears, meaning that in the land of his father's fears, Jacob sought calm, sought tranquility. That even when surrounded by fear and trepidation, Jacob found calm and equanimity, going so far as to find the good in what was making others afraid. There will likely be fear in these next months and years. There is fear now. There may even be panic. When we are able to find moments of tranquility, we have the possibility of seeing what good can be made or found even amidst what's frightening. The world looks different when we're rested. The world looks different when we remember how small we are and how big it all is. The world looks different when we've been replenished. Whether or not you have a sabbatical coming this year, every one of us has small opportunities to settle down, to seek out calm, to find moments or hours or days of peace. Just like you need me well, we need you well. Just like you need me rested, we need you rested. Just like you need me able to give my beautiful gifts and able to love with my whole heart, we need you able to give your beautiful gifts and to love with your whole heart. Thank you for giving me this most precious time. I am profoundly grateful. I hope that you will take my sabbatical as an inspiration to give yourselves little doses, little tastes of soul refreshment too. You are in the very best of hands with Rabbi Colin and Rabbi Green and soon to be Rabbi Trailer and Cantor Breitzer and Leslie Goldberg and the entire CBE staff and our amazing board of trustees and our stellar president, Leslie Lewin. Have a good 6 months. And I'll be back before you know it. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.